Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast. I'm the host, Sharice. I interview people making a difference in their communities and in their creative spaces. Today's special guest is a singer, actress, educator, and creative force with over 40 years of experience in the arts. Right now, she's on tour in the musical Hell's Kitchen, playing the role of Miss Liza Jane, a piano teacher and mentor to the main character, Allie. Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast, Roz White. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
so welcome. Thank you for choosing to be here. I appreciate it. So we're gonna just jump right into the interview. Can you tell everyone where you're from?
I am originally from Washington, D.C.
Nice, nice. I gotta ask, do you listen to go-go music?
Oh yeah. When I was younger, I wasn't really allowed to go to the
Mm-hmm.
Go-Go's, but I did listen to a lot of my uncle's Go-Go mixtapes with Trouble Funk and Rare Essence and EU. And as a matter of fact, the video for The Butt from the movie School Days of Spike Lee was filmed at my high school, Duke Ellington School of the Arts. Yeah. Go-Go's a big part. I was part of the film Good to
Mm-hmm.
Go as an extra that was also filmed at my high school, and also video for that's not his name, Curtis Blow. It's called Kick the Candy Man. It's back in
Oh
the
my
80s, but it's
God.
about getting drugs out of the
Yeah.
schools and everything. So Go-Go was a huge part of my life, and I also created a Go-Go curriculum for high school kids.
What? Yeah. Man, what a nice way to kick off our conversation in the month of March with Women's History Month. Like,
Yeah.
wow, man, you rock.
Thank you.
You really did. So, at what age did you realize you could sing?
For me, I think 9. I had been singing
Hmm.
before that, but I think that me actually hearing music, like hearing the bass line, hearing harmonies and things, that was
Okay, okay. Who was the first person to actually realize that talent from you?
my mom. Like I said, I had sung before in Glee
Right.
Club and in little programs in schools, but I was in my room singing along. We disagreed about this. God rest my mom soul. We disagreed about this. I say I was listening to Alicia Myers, the song "I Want to Thank You," um, and she says I was listening to Janet Jackson. So it probably was one or the other because I had no toys, no dolls. All I had was 45s and a turntable. That was my toys
Wow.
and my little tape recorder. So that was my little setup. I thought before there was a podcast, I thought I had a talk show and all that kind
Okay.
of stuff. So I was in there singing to the music, and she knocked on my
Yeah.
bedroom door and was like, "Was that you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was me." And she was like, just closed the door and went and called my grandmother. Was like, "That girl can sing." So yeah, it was my mom. It was my
So
mom.
after she realized that, like, was she trying to put you in talent shows and all the things, or you was just still doing?
No, my mom wasn't a
Okay,
stage
okay.
mom. I sought after it. I actually sought after it. So anytime, and it literally just would come and find me. Um, I mean, you saw the show Hell's
Right.
Kitchen, kind of like Allie ends up in the Ellington room and Miss Liza Jane walks
Yeah.
in. That's kind of like my life. I'm somewhere, I'm at the right place at the right time, and somebody just walks in and says, "Hey, come here, little girl." And every gig that I've gotten, every job when I was
Mm-hmm.
younger, leading up to the first professional gig at 14 was somebody just walking into a room and saying, "Hey, come here, little girl. I heard you can sing," kind of thing. And that's just what happened to me. Yeah, I joined a professional performing arts group in middle, well, we call it middle school now, but it was junior
Okay.
high back when I was in school. And so it was seventh grade that I joined the DC Youth Ensemble, and we went all over the
Mm-hmm.
country and all over the city performing. And then I went to Duke Ellington, and then that just
Yeah.
everything just exploded.
Man, so you've really been doing this for a very long time. At an early age.
That's
How
right.
how did growing up in DC influence not just your artistry, but you as a person?
Growing up in DC was so wonderful during the time that I was in elementary and junior high
Mm-hmm.
school. I tell this story all the time. We used to have to recite the Pledge of
Yeah.
Allegiance in schools with our hand over our heart. But our teachers were so fabulous that after we did that, they made us recite a Paul Laurence Dunbar poem or Langston Hughes or something by Gwendolyn Brooks, or sing the Black national anthem. We had to pair it with something that was culturally relevant to us. And that just shaped
Yeah.
me. That made me very interested early on. DC history, before there was the Harlem Renaissance, there was Black Broadway, which is Pearl Bailey called the U Street Corridor in DC, Black Broadway. That was where performers would perform when they couldn't get into the main venues because, of the color of their skin. And Duke Ellington is from Washington, D.C. And so he had a whole crew that used to hang out U Street area. It was called Crystal Caverns, but Bohemian Caverns became the name of this big club where Sarah Vaughan sang, Ella Fitzgerald sang, and of course, as I mentioned before, Pearl Bailey. Growing up in DC made me very aware of my history, not just as a performer, but just as a citizen. Frederick Douglass' home is in Southeast
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., and I visited there several times as a child, but more so as an adult, just to remember that rich, legacy that lives in that city for Black people, especially. So that's what growing up in DC did for me as an artist and as a person. It made me acutely aware of my history.
Okay. Wow. Do you remember the first time you performed in front of an audience?
It's been told to me so many times that I remember, but I was
Okay.
4, so I don't think I actually
Yeah.
remember. But it was
Okay.
preschool. It was preschool, and I remember it was a Christmas pageant kind
Okay.
of thing, and we were telling the story of the three bears for some reason in this particular Christmas pageant, and with a jazzy little
Yeah.
spin on it. And one of the kids got stage fright and couldn't say their line. And my teacher at the time, like, literally shoved me out onto the stage. Was like, you know it. And I was out there and I had to do it. And then it was literally at one after another. The kids were freezing up on their lines and they kept pushing me out. My mom says that I was pushed out there so much that the little bow they had was like twisted to the side. And one of my little ponytails was now a puff ball because I was
Working
just
so
like working
much.
so
Yeah.
hard. But that became like my reputation of being like Johnny on the spot when it came to performing. I was ready. I was always ready. And yeah, 4 years old. That was the first time in front of an
Wow.
audience. Yeah,
Earlier you said that you didn't have a lot of toys and you weren't allowed to listen to certain music. Did I hear that right?
I wasn't allowed to go to the
Okay.
go-go. I could listen to any
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
music I wanted to listen to, but I couldn't actually go to a because sometimes there may be activity that a young
Yeah,
teenage girl shouldn't be
for
involved
sure.
in, and trying to keep me safe. And it is DC. We're talking about the 80s, so I don't know if you're aware, but in the 80s and 90s, DC was one of the most dangerous cities in the country as far as
Yeah.
crime, and just there was so much going on, and just that coupled with the AIDS epidemic. Then crack came into the city, so I was sheltered in the
Yeah.
art, I'll say, because I had Duke Ellington and I had my extracurricular activities. But yeah, I couldn't go to a go-go, and when I did finally go as an adult, I was like, okay, I
It's
see, I
okay.
see now, I understand. But it takes me a minute to be like in the mood to just listen to just straight
Yeah,
go-go all day. But when you play it, you can't help but
for
move.
sure.
You cannot help but move. People love go-go music. I do too. And I just love the I love Chuck Brown. I'm an old school
Okay.
go-go person.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. But I grew up very exposed to everything. My grandmother had more like Sarah Vaughan and she had more traditional music in the house. And a little bit of Motown and Patti LaBelle.
Yeah.
That's where I discovered Patti. But my mom had Parliament. And my mom had, she had some acid jazz in there. She had some Les McCann. She had some John Cole. She just had so many different diverse music
Yeah.
tastes to not be inclined to music. Interestingly enough, my mom was more of a visual
Okay.
artist, but she loved music. And that's where I discovered Stevie Wonder, Luther Vandross, Whitney Houston, like all of that came from my parents, my mother, and my grandmother's record collection.
Well, that's amazing. Wow. Did you face any early obstacles that shaped your resilience today?
Absolutely. Um, Unfortunately, in my early childhood, I was taken advantage of more than once, and bullied as well. Um, Suffered with some low self-esteem issues. The arts really helped me to overcome that. Being confident in my talent helped me to fight against when people would call me ugly or things like that. Um, and growing up in DC, there was a tradition of, some people call it roasting, but we called it
Yeah.
Joan. So I learned how to Joan. I learned how to combat that. I learned how to have a quick wit. And if you try to get me, I get you back, or I try to get you before you get me. I also learned how to I called myself a rapper when I was in uh, my freshman year. I was like Rocky D and all that. So I took on like a persona. Going to Duke Ellington was the best thing that ever happened because it helped me how to deal with
Hmm.
bullies. I remember in a bully in junior high school. She used to follow me and like threaten me in the hallways of the school. But then I sang in the talent show, and she all of a sudden wanted to be my best friend. And I was like, oh, this is a this is a
Yeah.
gift. Like it turned that whole situation around. And so she actually became like a bodyguard. She was just like, nobody better not mess with Ron. And I was like, but she was just gonna beat me
Right.
up. But so yeah, so but yeah, definitely the being violated, being bullied were obstacles, but I feel so blessed that I was early
Hmm.
on exposed to gospel music, exposed to the church, exposed to kind
Hmm.
people who would take care of me and who would protect and look after me. I had a lot of protectors,
Absolutely.
a lot of protectors. So, that's what helped me get through it. So yeah, those would be the earliest.
Okay. What were your plans after high school? Did your mom encourage you to seek higher education, or was she like, you should just go on the road and just, go through your career?
You know, so interesting. The reason I was able to go to Duke Ellington is because my mom allowed me. She moved to New England from DC during that time. So I was with my grandmother
Okay.
during that time. And so come high school graduation, I was supposed to go to Broadway. Like, that was my
Hmm.
plan. I'm going to New York. I'm going to audition. It ends up that I got cast in a production of Dreamgirls at a dinner theater right out of high
Wow.
school. I got a lead role, played Laurel. And after getting cast in that production, because I spent a semester at UDC, University of District of
Okay.
Columbia, where my son is a student now, about to graduate.
Congratulations.
Yay, Anthony. So, and so I was a student there for about a semester in vocal performance, but I was still working professionally. Remember, I've been working professionally since I was
Yes.
14. So I never stopped working. So by 18, I got this dinner theater Dream Girls, and then I got a national tour of Dream Girls. So I had to come out of UDC and go on the road. So I thought, since I got this national tour, the next step is
Hmm.
Broadway. Just so happens I met a woman by the name of Nicole Powell, who was also in the show with me. And she said, what are you going to do after this tour? And I was like, oh, I'm going to come back to New York and, audition for Broadway. She was like, no, you're not. You need to go and get your education.
Hmm.
You need to go to Howard and you need to pledge D. And I was like, what? First of all, I'm from
Yeah.
DC. Why would I go to Howard? Dude, what is diva? What are you talking about? Pledging? I'm not letting nobody beat me up and all this kind of stuff. Well, here we are. Here we are, over 30 years later. I not only went to Howard, but I think I call it I won Howard
Yeah.
because I was Miss Howard, the whole thing. And I pledged Diva, and I've been a Diva for 33 years. We just had our 43rd anniversary yesterday of Diva, the Society for Women in the Arts. So Nicole Powell put that bug in my ear when I got off the road. Mike Malone, my mentor, who was the founder, a co-founder of Duke Ellington School of the Arts, called me and said, we're going to be reviving the musical theater program at Howard University. I would like for you to be a part of that. And I was like, well, A, I don't have any money. And how's this going to work? He was like, don't worry about that. Just show up on this day. And I tell you, I left undergrad, no debt, all scholarship. Of course, blessed things happened to me because I was homecoming queen and,
Yeah.
did the whole thing. But yeah, my plan was to go to Broadway. Still ain't got there yet, but I've done quite a few tours and a lot of regional theater and been working, I've sung on Grammy winning records, all of that kind of stuff. But Broadway is still that I still want
You're
to be
gonna
on
go.
Broadway. And people keep saying that. I'm like, please. But yeah, I think it's because I don't have a traditional sounding Broadway
Hmm.
voice that that's somebody's gonna have to write that right
And they
part
will.
for me. It's gonna have to be the right time, the right
They
place.
will.
Yeah,
I'm manifesting that for you. It's coming. It's
yeah.
coming.
Come on.
Which brings me to the next segment. So this next segment is called Digging Deeper, and during this segment, I'll ask you some thought-provoking questions about your personal life and your career, which you've already mentioned some of the things I'm going to talk about anyway. So, what made you truly decide like Howard is the place that you're going to be in?
Well, definitely the coincidence of that admonishment from Nicole to the call from Mike
Hmm.
Malone to coming to Howard. And when I stepped on that campus, because I grew up in DC, so I grew up in
Yeah.
Southeast. DC is very segregated. Southeast stays in Southeast, Northeast stays in Northeast, Northwest stays in
Yeah.
North. That we didn't anyway. Kids go everywhere now. But when we were young, we were not allowed to go outside of the quadrant that we lived
Hmm.
in, unless maybe you had cousins that lived in Northwest. So I rarely was in Northwest.
Okay.
So Howard was something that was just over there
Yeah.
to me until I started getting older and, went to performances at Crampton Auditorium, things like that. I remember Howard, but stepping on that campus at 20 years old and being like, oh, this is something
Yeah.
different. And just seeing everybody. So like the School of Business, wear suits every day to
Hmm.
class. Then you see the Blackburn Center and the Punch Out where you hang out and there's open mic and spoken word artists and people are singing and the steps of fine arts, people are dancing and like it's like the grown up version of fame.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was like, what is going on? So coming from Duke Ellington, I was like, oh, this looks like someplace I want to be. And so I entered the College of Fine
Hmm.
Arts, and my first show there was Ain't Misbehaving.
Okay.
I immediately became a Howard player, a member of the Howard Players, theater troupe that went all over the world. Roxy Roker, who played Helen on the Jeffersons, who's the mother of Lenny Kravitz, she was a Howard player. Ossie Davis, some of our finest actors were Howard players. Of course, Phylicia
Yeah.
Rashad. So yeah, and of course Taraji, who was at Howard at the same time that I was.
Did you guys run into each other a
It
lot?
just was a charmed experience. Oh, we spent a lot of
Wow.
time together. We actually share a best friend.
Okay.
And so, growing up in DC, we spent a lot of time together. We did shows together at Howard. Yeah, yeah. It was I knew I wanted to be there, just stepping foot on that campus, just looking at the yard and being like, oh yeah, this is my vibe. First day of school, there was a protest. And I called my
Wow.
grandmother. I was like, they protested. They shut the A building down. Da da da. And she was like, you protest your behind to class. That's what you do. And I was like, grandma. But yeah, no, it was a beautiful experience. Like I said, I can't even have had a better college experience. I don't
Hmm.
know many people that you know share that same journey.
Okay. How
It's
did the
been
Duke Ellington
yeah.
School of Arts sharpen your skills in acting and singing?
You know what? It was a beautiful environment. But Duke Ellington, I was a voice
Hmm.
major. However, Tia Harris was my first acting teacher, and she taught a class called Theater for Singing, and that kind of got me in touch. So here's the story of Duke Ellington. I was supposed to be auditioning for the theater department, but at the time I did not know or have a monologue.
Oh, okay.
So, but I knew a song. So I snuck out of the theater line, snuck into the voice line, and went upstairs to the vocal. So I say to this day that they knew and they came after me because Tia, Miss Harris taught the class for theater for singers, but Linda Gravatt, who is an acclaimed actress, she passed away at
Hmm.
24, was one of the theater
Okay.
teachers. She literally came up to the third floor where the vocal department was and snatched me out of choir and was like, and put me in the
Wow.
play. And that's just kind of like turned it around because I was more focused on being a recording artist. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be Stephanie Mills, or I wanted to be Patty,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But when I did that play, Bubbling Brown Sugar, it just opened up a new
Hmm.
world to me. And I was like, oh, I could do several different kinds of singing and in one. Yeah, this is for me. From 11th grade, 1986, that was it. That was it. Yeah, so Duke Ellington exposed me to, so I got a chance to, I mean, Dionne Warwick was our commencement speaker. Like, I mean, yeah, Stevie Wonder, used to hang out at our school. So, that kind of stuff. So Duke Ellington was a haven for
Yeah.
me. I never wanted to leave. I was there early and I left late because it was just feeding me everything that I needed. So many opportunities came out of the school and still do. And I taught there and so there's always like Ellington will never not be a source of great art and creativity. It's beautiful.
And back to what you were saying earlier when you snuck out a line to go to the other audition. Man, I feel like when you were younger and how you were always put on the spot, that helped you. Being used to just
Absolutely.
getting out there into the fire, just throwing out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You got to be ready. Stay ready so you don't have
full
to get ready.
circle
Yeah.
moment right there. Now, you made history as the first and only Miss Howard University to win the nationally televised Miss Collegiate African American pageant. What did that moment represent for you?
At the time, I thought something totally different. At the
Mm-hmm.
time, what it represented for me was I'm going to be able to pay for my last semester because I was a
Okay.
senior. And I was like, I'm going to be able to pay for school. I'm still looking for that footage of the whole pageant. The pageant where I handed over the crown, that whole footage is available. But there's just little clips. I don't know if
Mm.
you may have seen one with me and Morris Chestnut where I'm asking the question and I'm answering the question. That's went viral on TikTok a while ago. But the moment meant for me, Leah, that I could pay for
Yeah.
school. And that I could complete this journey, of how, because I was a little older. I started undergrad at 20. Most people are 18, so I felt a little older. Now looking back, I wasn't that much older, but at 24, a lot of the women in the pageant felt that I had an unfair
Mm-hmm.
advantage because I'd already been performing professionally, which made me, of course, a lot more
Yeah.
calm and skilled during the talent portion, but more so the question as well. Because I was brought up in DC and I brought up in Union Temple Baptist Church with great philosophers and teachers, a part of my development, that my answer for the question was very elevated and much like more like a
Yeah.
speech. And I got a lot of flack for that. I got a lot of flack.
Really?
So in the beginning, yeah, because they were like, it's too rehearsed. And but my thing is, you're supposed to be
Yeah.
prepared. You're supposed to be eloquent. You're supposed to represent. And I won. So that makes sense. But, but yeah, that moment then represented being able to complete my education. And also I was able to do something, uh, that I probably never would have been able to do, which was take my grandmother to Egypt, because that was a part of my prize, was a trip to Egypt.
Wow.
So I took my grandmother, and so, yeah, it just meant accomplishment. It meant achievement. It put a bow on that whole. I was like, you made the right decision
Mm-hmm.
by listening to, Nicole and going to Howard and Cousin Diva and
Yeah.
all of that tied into it. So yeah, that's what that moment meant. And then of course now, I've been performing and I ran into the woman that I handed the crown
Oh my
over to.
goodness.
She came to see Hell's Kitchen. What a moment. What a moment. We just hugged and
Oh.
cried and just the being proud, because on the other side
Mm-hmm.
of that, the young woman who was first runner up when I won the
Mm-hmm.
pageant, she wrote a book
Okay.
and she reached out to me asking me if, I give her permission to say my name. I was like, sure. And I thought she was gonna say something nice. But her little passage was very interesting about me is that because yes, when I won, I did go into a full praise. Yes, I did because I was like, my college, tuition is riding on this. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jesus, kind of thing. And her interpretation was that I was so happy to win the prizes. She was like a car, and I still don't have a driver's license. I sold that car back to the dealer. Like it was not about the prizes,
Yeah.
except of course the trip. The trip was
Yeah.
monumental. I wanted to go to Africa. I got to go to Africa, but that wasn't what that praise was from. That praise was from you put in the work. You were definitely the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a sponsor. My dress cost $200 at the little Indian store around the corner. I did my own hair, makeup, all of that. Now once I won, then all of a sudden now you got a team swooping in to do this and do that. Leading up to the moment of winning the pageant, I had done everything on my own and was older than.
Yeah.
So I felt odd man out. I had to win. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it was really an accomplishment, of course. Yeah, yeah. So that's what that moment meant. Today it means it's a great source of pride.
Yeah.
It's a great source of pride for me to have that accomplishment. People still call me Miss Howard to this day. They won't let me go, but it was a long time ago. But that means that it
Yeah,
means
it
something,
hit. Those people
Yeah,
felt it too.
yeah,
So you're not gonna get mad if I call you
yeah.
Miss Howard when I see you again.
Not at all.
Oh man. After leaving Howard and graduating, what was your first gig at?
So after Howard, once again, Dreamgirls. I did Dreamgirls literally from 1988 to 1998. Different
Okay.
productions. Started off with the dinner theater, did a couple of those, couple of dinner theaters, a tour. And then I did another regional production right after Howard at Westchester Broadway Theater. That Gregory Hines came to see that show. That like it was just amazing. And then I did the national tour that was supposed to go back to Broadway in 1997. I left that tour in 1998. I was struggling vocally,
Mm.
really struggling vocally because I had been working really, really hard I hadn't stopped. I had not stopped
Wow.
working. From 14, we talking about 28. So my voice was like, we're tired
Yeah.
over here. So I had to, take a step back and get some vocal health going, and also 28 is a time when your life is
Yes.
changing. So yeah, at 24, that Dream Girls was the beginning of that whole cycle of me needing to just pull back and decide how I'm going to do
Hmm.
it. I had been doing it just because it was my lifeline, but now I needed to thrive, and instead of just being in survival mode. And that first Dream Girls gig was the beginning of that. Yeah, Westchester Broadway.
Okay. How did you get involved with being able to perform with icons like Stevie Wonder, Yolanda Adams, and Michael Jackson?
Well, there's two common denominators in those things. Um, one, a man named Raymond
Okay.
Reeder, who just passed away recently.
Mm,
He wrote the song "When I'm With You" for Tony Terry, and Grammy winner for his work on Yolanda Adams' album "The Experience."
okay.
Raymond was a person that would call me for gigs since I was a young, at Howard. Like he was there when I won Miss
Yeah.
Howard, the whole thing. He's a Howard alum as well, and so Stevie Wonder, uh, Mike and Raymond were working together as director and musical director on this production that was like, we wanted to thank Stevie for his contributions to Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And so he came to the school. There's a grand piano that he had donated, and we did a show. I had just graduated from Howard, so that was like just a great
Yeah.
gig for me. I got to sing a whole medley of Stevie Wonder songs with him sitting there. And then Stevie performed with us on stage. I think it was Tomorrow Robbins will sing. He
Yeah.
had a song at that time. And then after that night, he took us out to dinner. There was like six of us, and he took us to B. Smith's restaurant
Okay.
in DC. And we sat there until 2 o'clock in the morning. He was playing piano. We were laughing, talking. And then one of my friends, who's no longer
Hmm.
here, Jeffrey, thanked him for his music and said that it helped him to not, ooh, this is hard, not end his
Mm,
life. Listening to Stevie like kept him from doing that. Stevie stopped the entire conversation, took Jeffrey over to the side. And by that time, it was like 1 o'clock. So that's why I went
hmm.
till two. Like he talked to him for like
Wow.
an hour, just about how precious life was. And of course,
Yeah.
Jeff came back and told us what he said. But yeah, I mean, that's a life
Yeah.
changing moment. So not only did I perform for and with, but I got a chance to glean from him just as a mentor and just as just a person with wisdom, just
Yeah.
beyond whatever we think his disability might be of not having physical
Right.
sight, but he has so much more than that. So I got to know the man and how he operates. And then Yolanda Raymond, interestingly enough, I just had my son who's about to graduate from UDC, lieutenant, um, and he was a baby at home with my mom, and I was working at a temp
Yeah.
agency. Those jobs that you
Hmm.
do to supplement your income when gigs are not coming. And I was working for a great, great group of ladies, female-owned temp agency at the time. And I got this call from Raymond saying, "Can you go on the road right now? I know you just had a baby." I was like, "Yeah, let me call my mom." So I called my mom and I was like, "I just got offered a gig with Yolanda Adams, and I have to leave tomorrow." She was like, "Well, come on and come.
Yeah. It's Yolanda Adams.
I got the baby." So yeah, and I went out on the road with her. We did Sisters in the Spirit tour, year one and year two. Year two, I had the opportunity to direct and stage the opening number of the
Very
tour.
cool.
Shout out to Sheba Haley, who Yolanda's manager at the time. She was like, "So you say you do this? Let's see
Oh,
what
wow.
you can do." I remember Shirley Caesar. Oh my God, Pastor Shirley Caesar. She had been she doesn't travel, she don't
Okay.
fly a lot. So she drives everywhere. So she took a little longer to get to the
Hmm.
venue. And once she got there, I had to take her through her choreography. And I was like, okay, Pastor Caesar, all it is going to be just walking from stage left to stage right, 8 counts. So 5, 6. And she would stop me. She said, "Babe, I've been walking along. You can't beat that." I was like, "Yes, ma'am. You got it." But yeah, it was, but it was a great experience. It really, really was. I didn't even put it on my resume because I was just like, but it was more of an internal thing for me to know that I did that, and that, people, thousands of people got to see my work, that wouldn't even have been thinking like that. So that made me
Hmm.
confident as a director. And then Michael Jackson, it was BET's first Walk of Fame. They used to do this thing called the Walk of
Okay.
Fame, and Michael, I think, was the first recipient.
Wow.
It was BET's 15th anniversary. And Raymond once again called and was like, "You in town?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Come down to uh BET used to be in DC. So come
Yeah.
down to BET, da da da. And we're gonna sing with Michael Jackson." I said, "We're gonna do what?" So I got all gussied up, did my face, and went down there, and it was great. He was singing "You Are Not Alone," and I was a part of the group that was singing with that. So yeah, and it was great to watch him in action. He turned around and looked at us and smiled because we had such a big,
Yeah.
sound and everything. DC is known for some of the best singers in the world, so we he had handpicked some of the Richard Smallwood singers were in there. There was quite a lineup. I think there may have been 15 of us and then some kids as well. So, because Michael loved to
Yeah.
see, children singing and that sound. So it was a very beautiful, beautiful
Did
time. Yeah. All three of those gigs, Raymond Reader. Yeah.
Shout out to Raymond.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a Raymond in their
Yeah.
life.
That's right.
Did you guys get a chance to talk to him or take a picture with him or anything after?
We did take a
Hmm.
picture, but Michael I mean, from what I knew growing up, that he was always very like shy and
Okay.
not, like really not really approachable. And I think a lot of that is not the artists themselves. I think it's the people
Yeah.
around them. They become so accustomed to, putting that barrier. But like I said, he did turn around and smile at us
That's
and,
what's up.
nod like he was feeling the way we was singing and everything. But no, we didn't get a chance to like sit. Spend time really. But yeah, just being that close, just being that,
Yeah.
and seeing him because I remember little Michael Jackson. I remember the Jackson 5.
Yes.
So seeing the Michael that he grew into, I was like, he's so tall and wow.
Man, man, nobody gets to say like they were within arm's reach of Michael Jackson. Like, wow,
Correct.
wow, man, that's
Correct.
amazing.
Yeah.
What did those collaborations teach you about excellence and longevity?
Well, wow. Listen, he is still here and still very influential when it comes to. I mean, he's become very political, but he
Hmm.
always was. He was just doing it through the music. He's largely responsible for pushing for us to have Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as a national holiday. That song, "Happy Birthday,"
Hmm.
that we sing, that's for Martin Luther King. People think it's a
Yeah.
birthday song, but he wrote that to say that we need to make this a national holiday. That definitely, I look to Stevie for the longevity and resilience and just being able to just penetrate the heart. Um, and Yolanda, very good friend of mine, she played Miss Liza Jane on Broadway for a limited run, and we texted back and forth during that time. And then I got to go actually see her in the role, and we just hugged each other. And she was just so happy that I'm doing it on tour, and I was just so happy that she got a chance to do it. And she was like, "Look at us doing this thing, I
Yes.
can't believe this." And because we just became very close, and I actually ended up teaching Yolanda's daughter while I was
Wow.
teaching at Howard. Taylor, yeah, Taylor was in my. I directed Spell Number 7 by Jacques Change, and Taylor was in it. She's fabulous. Yeah. So, and Michael, it taught me how to my humanity is more important than any stardom or any fame that I could
Hmm.
achieve. I really want to be the very best at what I do, but I still want to be able to talk to people. I still want to be able to sit down and have a meal. I still want to be able to walk
Hmm.
outside. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Without people, like, can I just walk down the street? So, Michael definitely was a lesson in that. It's just like, do not allow the fame to
Hmm.
overwhelm you. And of course, like I said, growing up in a situation where I was bullied or taken advantage of, that kind of situation, all of those uh,
Yeah.
stories of having any kind of disadvantage and how it strengthens you, um, and how you can use that to help other people, as you are moving through life. So yeah, I learned a lot from all of those experiences. And of course those experiences led to other
Yeah.
experiences with talented people all over the world as well. And then now people look to me as somebody who they are having an experience with, which I think is great. The kids that I work with in Hell's Kitchen, every time they find out another thing online about me, they're like, Miss Roz, you have lived a life. I'm like, yeah. In this little 55, about to be 56 years,
Wow.
I have lived a
Well,
life.
you look gorgeous because I did not guess your age, and if I didn't look at your biography and everything, I would have not guessed you were 55. What in the world? Good for you.
Yeah, you got to do the math.
To stay in the gym longer so I can look like you, man. Wow.
Listen, you're a baby. Look, you black. You know what they say. We look good.
I'm serious. When you came out to sign people's autographs, I was like, wow, because you had on makeup on stage and everything. So
Sure,
I didn't expect to see you look like this. I don't know. Maybe I thought to expect to see you how you look on the stage, but you did not. You look extremely
sure.
young.
Yeah, I think that the kids in the show said the same thing when I came into rehearsal. They were like, "You go in Miss Liza James. Liza James,
Yeah.
supposed to be older." And I was like, "It's acting."
You
Yeah,
played your role, okay? Like for real.
thank you.
Can you tell us about your music movement, Griot Soul? Did I say that right?
Griot,
Griot Soul.
griot. Yeah, griot. Yeah, you don't even pronounce the
Okay.
T. So a griot is an elder in the community who gives the oral history of the tribe, right? A griot is a storyteller, and I've played that role several times, and I also feel like I am that. So what Griot Soul sought out to do was because it was a play on neo soul. So what it sought to do was to bring a conversation of someone who was more
Mm-hmm.
experienced into the room without separating them. Because you know how sometimes kids can't hear things when the elders
Yeah.
are speaking. But what if the elder was like me and could kind of shape shift a little bit and don't
Yeah.
really look their age? So griot, so that's what that movement sought out to do. And from that movement, I think that's where the go-go curriculum developed. I think that's where a lot of my other ideas that I've had down through the years. It's still
Mm-hmm.
ongoing, but it's not a brand per se. It literally is kind of how I move through my art. It culminated for me with performing a piece called "The Beauty of
Mm-hmm.
Resistance" at the Smithsonian Museum for African American History and Culture. I gotta say the
Yeah.
whole thing, if but the African American Museum in DC. I was hired to perform a one woman show there, and during Women's History Month in 2025, and I feel like that's the culmination of Griot Soul. It's like I linked everything that I've been trying to do with the
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, with relatable, with pulling people into my
Mm-hmm.
story, but also letting them know that all of our stories are valid.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of where that culminated from. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I really don't talk about Griot so much
Oh.
anymore, but I should probably start
You
talking about it.
should. I
That's good
think
sign.
storytelling's amazing and something big within the Black community because they try to take away books and everything, and that's how information got passed down. So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Now, you portrayed powerful women like Billie Holiday and Zelma Bullock from the Tina Turner musical. What draws you to roles centered around strong, complex women?
Interesting. I'm so glad you said uh, powerful, strong, and complex too, because Zelma, for many people was a villain. But I had to understand, and I read something today that talks about this. You can't possibly really immerse yourself. Her name is, what is her name? She went to Duke Ellington, and I think of her name, but she was in one of the Tyler Perry shows, If Loving You Is Wrong.
Okay.
Edwina,
Okay.
Edwina Fenley. I just read something that she said that you can't really immerse yourself into a character if you're standing in judgment of it.
Mm,
So what you have to do is, and I always tell my students, and I tell myself when I'm preparing, do not judge yourself and do not judge the character. Get into the whys of their existence. My acting coach, Jamal McNeil, amazing, also Howard alum, um, said today too. Go back to the basics of who, what, when, where, and why. Sometimes it's not all of the fancy terms and the techniques that we learn from the different acting techniques. What draws me to the powerful women that I am, and what draws me to the complexity is that we all have that. Nothing is ever as simple
right.
as, right? You should just. I try to stay away from terms like that. You should just, or why don't you just? I try to stay away from that because nothing is ever that simple. There's a reason that Zelma was mean. Wouldn't you also be mean if your family profession was picking cotton? and you were called the N-word every single
Mm-hmm.
day to your face and spat at, and you lived on that's not even a town, the city out limits where you had to pump your water from a well and break your back every day working, um, wouldn't you be mean too? So, and and if your only way out was to marry somebody that could possibly be 20 years older than you, who's going to maybe hit
Yeah.
you if you don't do what they want you to do, everything, wouldn't you be mean too? So I had to, think of that. But also when you said powerful, because it would take someone who could endure
Mm-hmm.
that to give birth to and at least get to the early, when you get a child past the early development stage, they have to figure out the
Yeah.
world. We keep wanting to shelter, but that child, so the woman that gave birth to Tina Turner, yeah, she would have to have that same power inside of her. She may not have had the talent to sing on stage, but that power, that same power that gave Tina the strength to endure what she endured, came from inside of her mother.
Agreed.
So that's what draws me to those kinds of roles is the backstory and the
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking for strong, complex women, you're currently touring with the Alicia Keys inspired Broadway musical Hell's Kitchen, which I got a chance to see. What was this? What has this experience meant to you at this stage in your career, especially since you've done so much?
Yeah, let me tell you, this role is the gift that keeps on giving. Like, I cannot even tell you from the very beginning when I first heard the lyrics and sang the little section, when we do self-tapes for
Mm,
auditions, they don't give you the entire song
okay.
to sing. They give you a section of the song to sing. And so just singing that section of the song and hearing those lyrics, first of all, Alicia Keys wrote this song. Wow. Secondly, wow, this character must be really powerful. But I still had not read the full script. So I didn't know Miss Liza James'
Yeah.
journey. So going to the first audition and singing, and mind you, I go to the audition and sitting outside, going right before me is Avery Sunshine. So I'm like, what? I'm never gonna get it. I'm never gonna get it. So she was lovely. She was lovely, and we hugged, and I met her husband, and then go to the callback, and she's there again. So I was like, it's so you basically you're saying it's between me and Miss
Yeah.
Liza. That's why. So when I go to into the room and Alicia is behind the table, and I'm just like, "Nah." So and it was great. Like she was so, she is a
She
light.
is.
That's what I keep telling people. She is a light. She moves in peacefulness,
Mm-hmm.
and when she, holds your hands and looks you dead in your eye, there's not a phony bone in her body. She's light. And that audition was one of the best experiences of my life. And I knew then that even if I didn't book it, that something special was going to happen. Well, I booked it, and now that I'm doing the role, I can't. I mean, not many days go by that I don't get an Instagram message,
Oh,
email,
yeah.
something from people saying, "You touched me. This role changed my life." Whatever stuff. I mean, it is constant, and I am super grateful. That's why when people ask me, "Will you do, an interview?" Of course I will. I want as many people to know that, that whatever it is that you are passionate about, that you're calling, just hang in there. You know what I mean? Just hang in there. I mean, Keisha Lewis, I was
Mm-hmm.
doing Tina, and I remember standing in the green room watching the Tonys as Keisha Lewis was accepting her Tony for the role of Miss
Yeah.
Liza Jane, and her saying, listen to what I'm saying, give up. And I'm just crying and sobbing because I'm like, still want to be on Broadway. And is
Yeah.
there a chance? And, we've done similar roles. We both done Dreamgirls. We both done Once Upon a Island. We both done Amos Behaving. Like we have almost like a similar
Mm-hmm.
career path. And for her to be doing this role and to win the Tony, it just gave me so much hope. And so I carry that hope with me through everything that I do, and every city that we come to that loves on me in a special way. I would definitely say Greensboro for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely Durham, definitely Atlanta. Just the love, and even over in Appleton,
Wow.
Wisconsin, they loved on me. So people resonate with this character in a way that I have not seen in a long time.
Wow. Well, I can definitely say I got a chance to meet Alicia too, and I agree with everything you said. Like, it's not a phony bone in her body at all. It's the realest,
Not at all.
man.
yeah. She's that kind of person that smiles from the inside. It's
Hmm.
like that's the real, she has found joy. She has found a way to find joy in this world. And then her mom, a sweetheart, just so loving, and just hugged me and just rocked me and was just like, oh, I love you. And I was, really like, Adam Blackstone, love him, worked with me really closely with the song Perfect Way to
Hmm.
Die. And I was shaking in my boots because, when we forget sometimes as we're training, as we're learning, that part of that is tweaking and fixing and fine
Yeah.
tuning. And we judge ourselves and think I'm not doing it right because it's being fine tuned. But what Adam was able to do for me was lock it in a place that if I'm sick as a dog, I can still deliver that song. Or if I'm in great voice, I can still deliver that song. And I'm telling it has never failed. Somebody says something every time, like every
Yeah.
single time. And it's like, what? So yeah, yeah, that has been this has been a tremendous experience for me, and still is. And I'm looking forward to going to different countries, if that's
I
in the
hope so.
cards. And just, yeah, just making sure that that I live the fullness of this, and really just enjoy it
I'm
while
gonna
it's
say I definitely enjoyed when you sang "Authors of Forever" because I used to listen to that song when I was sad, and like when I deployed, I listened to "Girl on Fire" when I was deployed, but
okay. Okay.
"Authors of Forever" has always gotten me through, man. Let me tell you, when you saw that song, you was
Yeah.
singing to me, man. Oh man.
Thank you. Somebody, that's not an easy song. I had to make the decision as to whether I was going to sing or cry. I was like, you got to make up your mind because you can't do both. So I was like, I was like, and my acting teacher, Vera Katz, who's taught all the people, Lynn Whitfield, Felicia Rashad, Taraji, taught all of them, and she's a little 90-year-old
Yeah.
Jewish lady. And she said, holding back tears is much stronger than letting them fall. So if you can get through the whole thing and then let the tears fall at the end, you're gonna have it. So that's my how boxers or
Hmm.
runners or gymnasts, how you cross train, that's my training. It's like to hold back those tears till I can't
Yeah.
anymore. It's the
Yeah.
restraint. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I feel about authors. I feel like I'm singing it better as the more I
Hmm.
do it, because like I said, I was so like I meant to say hadn't read the script until we got into the
Hmm.
room in rehearsal process. So I'm literally reading
Oh.
as it's going. And when she died, I was like, huh? No. So, because Zelma had to, pass away
Yeah.
too. So it's just like these characters that have this journey that actually
Yeah.
ends. Zelma, unfortunately didn't get to come back as
Right.
an angel. But when Miss Liza Jane re-enters that
Man,
Ellington
it got
room
to me.
in a different
Oh my gosh, it got to me.
That's some powerful stuff
It
right
is.
there. I'm like, Christopher Diaz, you wrote that. You wrote that. Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
wow. So, did playing this role bring up any memories of your prior mentors that you've had?
Yes. From the very beginning, everybody that I've named to you is a part of Miss Liza Jane. Mike Malone, Linda Gravatt, Tia Harris, um, even my science teacher, Dr. Bray, who, people they made up a song about her. She was such a
Yeah.
hard teacher. But she's the one who gave me my first teaching job.
Wow.
I was 15 years old, and she hired me to teach in a summer program to teach acting to young students. And when I won Miss Collegiate, I went to visit Bennett, and one of the young ladies that was in my class was at Bennett
That's
as a freshman. I was
crazy.
like, here we go. That's and it. I don't know. From a very young age, I've realized the importance of
Yeah.
mentors. And so every teacher that Miss Carol Foster, who was original Miss Liza Jane, who pulled me put me in the DC Youth Ensemble. She's just recently been honored. She's an icon in
Hmm.
DC. She was the president of the International Association of Black and Dance, IABD, yes, for a number of years. Um, yeah, there's just so many iconic people in my life, um, that even dress like Miss Liza Jane with the
Wow.
traditional, the
Yeah.
dashiki. All my teachers in the 90s dressed like that. If you walk on Howard's campus in the 90s, that's what you're
That's
going to see a
what's
teacher
up.
wearing. And then Sounds of Blackness came out with the African
Yeah.
attire. Everybody started wearing it to church.
Yeah,
So
I
it just,
remember that.
it goes in it. Yeah. It goes in. Yeah. All of that goes into Miss Liza. So I think about all of my mentors. I really do. And as with people passing away, unfortunately, that feeds
Yeah.
into it as well. So I get a chance to pay tribute to them every time I step on that stage.
In what ways do you personally relate to Miss Liza Jane?
Just definitely being a
Mm-hmm.
teacher, having students come back to me and thanking me. They called me Mama
Oh.
Roz when I was teaching, and so I see my students being just amazing. Actually, one of the young ladies that I taught too were in the tour of Tina
Mm-hmm.
after I left. So one played Tina, Jaina Elise, who was incredible. She's fire. And then Kiana, uh, her last name is Fuch. Yeah, Kiana Kelly Marie. I had to say the whole name.
That's
Anyway,
fine.
she's one of the I get on the
Yeah.
tour. So yeah, I mean, I've seen my students thrive. That relates me to Miss Liza. Like I feel like when Miss Liza Jane walks away from Allie that last
Mm-hmm.
time, she realizes that she has given her what she needs to give her to make her okay. And just like, I don't know if you saw that symbolism where, there's a scene where Miss Liza Jane is trying to comfort
Yes.
Allie, but then it turns around the other way where Allie has
Yes.
to
And
help
she
her,
walked.
help
Yeah,
her
I
walk.
remember it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, that reminds me of my life just as a teacher, as a mom, what I try to instill in my sons. Yeah, it's my younger son came to see the show when we were in New Orleans.
Nice.
Shout out to New Orleans. I used to live there. And I've not seen his face light up like that in a long time. I mean, he just was like, he loved the show and everything. My sons are in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So, just at that age where not a lot of what I say lands, you know. But if somebody else can come and say it and they're like, did you hear what so I'm like, I just, but that's Miss Liza Jane. Like mom can't get through the alley to,
Yeah.
get it together, but Miss Liza Jane can be that,
That bridge,
and
though.
so it helps
Yeah.
me to also take some of the pressure off myself. Yeah, as a parent, like they've got mentors, they got people that are going to pour into their lives, because that's what I pray for, that people will pour into their lives and, support them. Yeah, so I relate to her in so many ways. And also, unfortunately, her life journey, my mom passed
Mm-hmm.
away in 2021.
Mm. Sorry to hear that.
Watching her, thank you. So watching her, just deal with her body changing and her, realizing that she wasn't going to be able to do the things that she used to do, and just the whole journey of her letting go.
Yeah.
She fought to the end. So Miss Liza Jane fights, but she fights in a different way. She fights through pouring into this kid because she thinks that she's going to be able to, do the same thing, for somebody else.
Yeah.
And she's based on a real person who um, Alicia talks about, her piano teacher as well as her paternal
Mm-hmm.
grandmother. So she combined a couple of people in her life to make the full Miss.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that with the audience. Y'all need to go check out Hell's Kitchen
Yes.
like today.
Like, come on.
Like right now. You're gonna see Miss Ross, like, come on, man.
Come on
Yes,
down.
yes. Now, speaking of teaching, why did you decide to become a professor?
Oh, that was once again uh, handed to me. My mentor, Mike Malone, became ill in
Mm-hmm.
2006, passed away. But his classes at Howard needed teachers, and so myself and one of my diva sisters, Desiree DeBose, came in and we were team teaching his class, his musical theater techniques class. And from that point on, it was like whenever there was an opportunity for me to do an adjunct, I did it. I did it up to 2019. So from 2006 to 2019, off and on, I would do adjunct professor. I would have loved to have been a tenured professor, and it probably is still in the
Mm-hmm.
cards for me because you can teach
Yeah.
forever. But I came away from teaching in general in the classroom every day because I feel I'm more effective on stage right now and in workshops where I
Yeah.
can move about as opposed to being in the classroom every day. But yeah, being a professor wasn't something that I had decided, not at the time when it happened. It was something that was requested of
Okay.
me. My ancestors
And
requested
when
my
they call,
presence.
you gotta answer, okay?
That's right.
Now, outside of Hell's Kitchen, are you working on any other projects or promoting any other projects?
I am. I'm gonna be doing my own podcast. It's called Liner
Cool.
Notes, and it's just based on my love for music. My friend Timothy Story will be my
Hmm.
co-host, and we both are music aficionados, and we met working in a record store. They don't in DC, but we met working in a record store, and it was during that time when Alicia Keys' songs in A minor first broke,
Wow.
and so right. So this is a
You
full
really do have
circle
a lot of
moment.
those.
And so I was like, what? So yeah, so we're gonna be talking about everything that you read on the back of that album cover. We have vinyl records, things like that. Talking about the artist from the behind the scenes perspective and industry facts that people may not know. And it's just gonna be a lot of fun banter between the two of us. Yeah. So check out Liner Notes. I'll send you the
I
promo so you get
definitely will
to
promote it
see
for
what
you.
we're gonna be doing. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what. And also I have another one woman piece. Um, Roberta's First Take. This is Roberta Flack, her first album, and I perform it live as if it's actually that night at Mr. Henry's, which is a club in DC where she got discovered. I performed
Hmm.
it there, performed it in New York at the Green Room 42, and performed it in DC at the Arts Club of Washington. So I'm hoping to do a tour of that at some point. So that's always in the works. Those kinds of things are always bubbling. I wake up at like 100,000 calm myself down because you can only do with
Yeah.
so much with one body. That and the film Veil, Requiem for Trayvon, is going to be released soon. I play Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon's mother, and on the night of his funeral, she's taken on a journey through
Hmm.
time, and she gets to meet the mother of Martin Luther King. She gets to meet the mothers of the four little girls who were slain in Alabama. She gets to meet Medgar Evers' wife, Myrlie Evers. She gets to meet all these women who've had to endure the same kind of pain that she's enduring, and it gives her the strength to be the Sabrina Fulton that we know, who is an activist, who is, has the Trayvon Martin Foundation, who has the Circle of Mothers, all of that kind of. So it's a life changing role, and I actually shot that film while I was doing Tina, and it's going to be released soon. So it's pretty powerful. I'll send you the trailer for
Thank
that as
you.
well, so
Thank
you
you.
can
I got you.
see what's popping. Yeah, yeah. So those are my projects. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
you doing a lot. And you still on tour. You're still gonna be on tour. Wow.
yeah. The hope is that the movie comes out right as we're like in the climax of the tour,
Yeah.
and so that you get to see like, yeah, we want to
Yeah.
be hitting them from all
No,
sides.
that's
Yeah.
right. All right. The final segment of this show is called Rants with Sharice. And during this segment, you get to rant about whatever you want. It could be about people not using signal lights while driving, even though you told me you do not drive. So it could be about anything in the music industry, whatever.
Okay.
And after you
So
share your rant, you have to share a solution with our listeners because there's no sense in complaining if you're not going to give a solution. So the floor is yours.
okay. Well, this is my rant. People do not read. People do not read. Read. I don't understand. I can post something or I can send an email and I will get a barrage of questions that show me in no uncertain terms that you have not read that I wrote. So yes, within my rant, I would go ahead and post a solution. Read, and don't just read, read for comprehension. If you have a question, ask it. Don't assume. And, I've had so many things happen to me where people just, no, I've had a woman show up to the Schubert Theater in New York City and then text me and be like, "Are you going to come out after the show? I didn't recognize you." I'm not in the show on Broadway. I'm on the tour. And I know I have posted that over and over again. You
Yep.
didn't read. So that's the kind of, thing that just drives me bananas when people don't read. And then, sometimes just people make mistakes, just because they don't read. So yes, rant, people don't read. Solution, people please
Mhm.
read.
I agree. I deal with that having a podcast. So before you go, can you please share your social media, your any websites, wherever you're at, so all our followers can follow you and keep up?
Yes, so I am on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is See Roz White, SEE Roz White, and Instagram is Roz White Sing. If you put in Roz White, I guarantee you all of that's going to pop up. My name is unique. There's not a whole lot of us. I think I'm probably the only one right now doing what I'm doing. And so all you got to do is type in Roz White, ROZWHIT, and everything will come up. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the things.
All
Yes.
right. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your journey, being authentic. It's appreciated.
Thank you very much. And okay, I'm going to pronounce your name right.
Yes, ma'am.
Sharice, Sharice,
Sharice. Yes,
Sharice.
ma'am.
I know a couple. So, this is the most unique spelling that I've come across, and I do like it. It's very pretty. So, Sharice, thank you for coming to me and for asking me to be here. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And much success to you in all of your
Thank you
endeavors.
so much. And thank you for listening to Connect Like Mind.